Thank you, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable Ruth Dyson, a 5-minute call on behalf of the Labour Party.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Can I begin my contribution to the Substance Addiction Compulsory Assessment and Treatment Bill 2015 by paying a tribute to all those people who, in the past, under different regimes, have died as patients or residents or inmates, as they were previously called, can you believe, of our psychiatric institutions around the country. I have no criticism of the health providers or the decision makers of the time, because I think everyone did what they genuinely thought was for the best, in the best interest of the person and their treatment. We've clearly come a long way since then, and thank goodness for that. I also want to pay a tribute to two women who, in my view, changed the way that Parliament considered and acted in relation to mental health, learning disabilities and drug and alcohol treatment, and that's the Right Honourable Jenny Shipley and the Right Honourable Helen Clark. Both of those women, as leaders of Labour and National at the time, took a conscious decision to stop using people who, particularly people with mental illness, as pawns in this institution that we're privileged to serve in. And I think that was not just good for Parliament, but it was good for our consideration of mental health and therefore the treatment that people got. So I just want to put on the record my appreciation of that change. I hope that other changes are driven in Parliament as well. Too often we make what I've only been viewing second or third hand actually through Twitter. Is it New Zealand Bachelor? Whatever that program is, I think we make that look quite sophisticated by some of our behaviour. And I'll just stop there, but hope that we can get some other change driven. I also want to acknowledge the Law Commission. They started this process. They saw an area that work needed to be done, and they do mostly really robust, thoughtful work, and they give Parliament something very strong to build on, and that's evident, I think, from the contributions that have been made from a range of different parties already tonight. So this bill will throw out the old system, and so it should. It's outdated, and move to a new system which has an entirely different frame. We're now talking no longer about penalty and punishment and the justice system in our areas of drug and alcohol addiction, and let's wait for other recognition of that move of a frame as well. But at least it's starting in the treatment area through to a harm reduction. So that health approach, I think, is a very bold step, and it's one that clearly Parliament is up to supporting. My concern is not for any of the specifics or the principles of this legislation. I think the Honourable Peter Dunn has done a jolly fine job, actually, in picking up the Law Commission's work and then fine-tuning it through the various processes of Cabinet into a bill that we all support. My concern is that in the end, the services that we rely on so greatly in our communities have to be resourced well enough to do the job that we expect of them. So we're setting in place here a legislative framework where provision of services will be different and additional to what we have now. And I just want to put on the record that these organisations that do this amazing work around our country need the money to pay for it. They cannot employ cheap monkeys because they've got a high-quality professional job to do, and they should pay them properly. So this needs to be resourced. If the $1.7 billion out of the health budget is an indication of how seriously the government takes this, then we should be concerned. Mr. Speaker, I've enjoyed the debate so far tonight, and I'm sure I'll enjoy the remaining few speakers. It's not very often that we have an issue that is so important to so many people, so many individuals and their families, and yet it has such support across the various parties in Parliament. It is, I think, a long overdue measure, but it's one that's taken proper time to come to fruition and a proper process. The Law Commission is a very good place to start this work, and I think that the process that's been undertaken since then, discussion papers widely debated throughout the provider and support advocacy group community, has ended up with a jolly fine bill as a result.